that are hosts for people, as Chris and I have been the last few days. You know, sitting around is not an option sometimes, is it? You've got to get things done, you've got to prepare for things. But so this choice between Mary and Martha is not always clear, just as it's not always clear about what we're going to do with that $10 or that $20 or that $100. It's something that we are, by necessity, must engage in and to wrestle with a little bit. But at that moment in time, what is the most that we can do? What is the best decision? What is the best way that we can express our stewardship, if you will, with what we have to help the situation before us? And this weekend, as I said, Soul and Beef Days, which you have experienced numerous times, that is the majority of you. For Chris and I, it is the second time. But this time we got to watch the hay bale tossing. That was quite exciting. It really was. It was hot, but it was exciting to watch those hay bales get tossed over that little bar. And all the 24 younger men that participated, and the roughly 9 women that participated earlier, and the 3 in the over 50 age that participated. But this weekend also marks up something else. Yesterday, to be specific. In July of 1969, Neil Armstrong descended a ladder on the moon in the Sea of Tranquility. Stepped down on the surface of the moon for the first time. A human being did this and spoke those famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Just 50 years ago yesterday. I recall that day very, very well, sitting in front of the television watching Neil Armstrong descend. Everything changed during that time period. One of the things in my readings over the years I've noticed is that Neil Armstrong wondered, as he took that last step, how deep is the dust? Have you thought about that? That was one of his most important questions that weighed heavy on his mind. He didn't know. When that landing took place, they did not know at NASA how deep the dust was. Watching on television, what's the big deal? You step off a ladder, you land on the dirt, you land in the dust, what's the big deal? But Neil Armstrong said the most nerve-wracking part of that last step was, how deep is the dust? What about us today? Similar situations. How deep? How far? How much? Our perspective changes when we start to ask such questions. And 50 years ago yesterday, the perspective of life, the perspective of the universe changed dramatically. Not just for those of us here in the United States, whom Neil Armstrong represented, but also the world, as he stated, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Armstrong was well aware of the fact that it wasn't just for the United States, it wasn't for this country alone that he was on this mission. It was for humanity. It was bringing us a different perspective, a different viewpoint of the universe itself and for the moon. But it doesn't end there either. Just the year before, you may or may not remember, another group of astronauts for NASA also went to the moon. Now, they did not land on the moon, but they did go go to the moon. Apollo 8 mission of 1968 at Christmas time. Borman and Anders flew around the moon numerous times, taking photographs. The fourth time they circled the moon, when they came back around, they saw the moon, or rather they saw Earth, colored. Not black and white. They saw the Earth in all its beauty, sitting in the darkness of the universe, bright, shining out, standing out, its details shining out in the darkness of the universe. It had never been seen before like this. No one had ever seen the Earth from this distance. Not a soul from Earth had ever had this viewpoint. They had their instructions prior to their flight. Pretty clear. Most of the men up there were military, so they had very clear rules with which to follow. They were to take pictures of the moon. No mention in the instructions of taking pictures of the Earth. None. Do you believe that? They weren't concerned about the Earth. They wanted pictures of the moon. None of the instructions listed any pictures for the Earth. Thankfully, the astronauts decided on their own to make some changes. The cockpit voice recorder of that particular mission went like this. "Oh my God," says Borman. "Look at that picture. Here's the Earth coming up. Wow, is that pretty?" Real scientific notation. "Hey, don't take that," said Anders. "It's not scheduled." Borman just laughs. "Hey, you got color film, Jim?" Anders has a change of heart and says, "Hand me that roll of color, quick, will you?" "Oh, man, that's great," marvels Lovell, looking out the window. "Hurry up, quick," says Anders. "Take several of them. Here, give it to me," says Lovell. "Calm down, Lovell," says Commander Borman. And there was a little bit of amusement in the voice. Here are these group of astronauts, these group of scientists, and they're giddy as school children, excited over what they're seeing. They're caught up in the moment. They don't care what NASA down in Houston, in Texas, have told them. These are the instructions. Follow them to the letter. This is what you are meant to do. This is your mission. This is your job. Out the window. That went. Those instructions did not come through to their hearts. They felt the call to deviate the mission of that moment, and their vision, their perspective of life changed. Not only for them, but for us as well. For we have benefited from those photographs of the Earth taken by those astronauts in 1968. With the color and the beauty of the Earth standing out in the darkness of the universe. Very different perspective, thanks to those men who decided to change the instructions. A vision more than 50 years later that we still struggle to realize its significance. But it wasn't just here either that it ended. Borman was given instructions and little guidance. NASA NASA knew that it was Christmas time, Christmas Eve actually of that year. They knew that people all over the world would be listening to what was going on up there. After all, no one had ever been there before. So they gave instructions to say something appropriate for the moment. That's all they said to them. That's all they said to Borman. Say something appropriate. So he decided on his own to read the first 10 verses of the book of Genesis, chapter 1, the Authorized King James Version, which goes like this. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. God knew. Borman knew. We know. Later on, on Christmas Day, in the New York Times of that year, 1968, Archibald MacLeish wrote an essay called "Riders on the Earth." I want to read some excerpts from that eloquent essay. Archibald MacLeish wrote, "Men's conception of themselves and of each other has always depended on their notion of the earth. When the earth was the world, all the world there was, and the stars were lights in Dante's heaven, and the ground beneath men's feet roofed hell. They saw themselves as creatures at the center of the universe, the soul, the particular concern of God. And from that high place they ruled and they killed and they conquered as they pleased. But centuries later, the earth was no longer the world, but a small spinning planet in a solar system of minor stars off on the edge of an inconsiderable galaxy in the immeasurable distances of space. Dante's heaven had disappeared and there was no hell, at least no hell beneath the feet. Men began to see themselves not as God-directed actors at the center of a noble drama, but as the helpless victim of a senseless farce, where all the rest were helpless victims, and millions could be killed in a worldwide war, or blasted in cities and concentration camps, without a thought or reason or of anything. It was all by brute force. And now in just a few hours, the notion might be changed again. For the first time in all of time, we have seen it not as continents or oceans, but from the distance of 100 miles or two, but from there, the deep of space, the depths of space, seen it whole, round, beautiful, and small. To see the earth as it truly is. Small, blue, beautiful. In that eternal silence where it floats. Is to see ourselves as riders on the earth together. Brothers and sisters on that bright loveliness in the eternal cold. Brothers and sisters who know now that they truly are sisters and brothers. Mary and Martha, working so hard to be good hosts to a group of travelers. Hearing of this traveling preacher named Jesus, Rabbi, Martha working hard in the kitchen. We think this is so foreign to our world today. Let me give you a clue without trying to get myself in too much trouble with my wonderful wife right in front of me here. Just yesterday, hosting her brother, her sister-in-law, Jeff and Hope from Colorado Springs, traveled here to vacation, staying out at Lake McBride at the park with their trailer and their dogs, and our girls and their guys and their dogs. Like I said, we all went uptown to watch the hay bale, but yesterday we had great plans for wonderful ribs on the grill. Naomi, our second child, she's a great cook. She is a great cook. So she was the designated cooker of the day. But you know what? When the rib package was opened up, the ribs opened up, we all caught an unusual aroma in the air. At first, 2 or 3 of us thought it was just one of the dogs having a gas attack, but it turned out to be the ribs were no good. Trust me, that was not a good moment in time. It was a Martha moment for all of us, and yet all of us to a person, all of us realized there was nothing that could be done at that time except to fall back on what we already had in the freezer yet, and that was bratwurst. All we had to do was send off one of the kids, and we had some buns later on, so we had wonderful brats on the grill, and chips, and so on and so forth. The ribs are no longer on the menu because they've gone bad. It was a Martha moment. We couldn't dwell on the fact that we had lost out on something we planned for a long time. It was not a good moment for Krista and I. We were the hosts. It was our home. Yes, our children. But all of them to a person reassured both Krista and I to not worry about it. It's not a big deal. And in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't, was it? It wasn't a big deal. Extremely disappointed. It hit the pocketbook pretty hard. Yes. But you know what? It was not a big deal. There are things that are more important than dust on a shelf or ribs that go bad. What was most important yesterday was the fact that we were together as family. We were together to laugh, and for our sister-in-law, Hope, to learn a new game called 31. You ever played 31? She learns how to play 31, and doggone it, she's too good at it, so we're not going to let her play anymore. No, she will do it. But as I was working on this message, what happened to us yesterday was just sadly apropos. Martha was upset with Mary, her sister. Even going to Jesus going, you know what? I have been working all the time in the kitchen, trying to make all this work. A great host, that's what I'm supposed to do. Borman and Anders in 1968, we've got cameras and we're supposed to take pictures of the moon, not the earth. What do they do? Take pictures of the earth, thankfully for us. Carissa and I, yesterday, were upset because the ribs have gone bad. We were looking forward to ribs on the grill. Naomi does a great job with ribs on the grill. Everyone said, don't worry about it. We've got brats. We'll have those. And they were fantastic. And the laughter around the table was just as good, if not better, than anything we could have had. Mary, Martha, Relax. It's okay. Things are going to work out. And they will work out. We are often distracted by so many things. And so many of those things are not, in the end of the day, as important as we think they are. Oh yeah, they messed it up perhaps, our schedule, or things that we had imagined would happen. You know, you hope that turkey or that whatever on Thanksgiving is going to be absolutely gorgeous when it comes out of the oven. Sometimes it doesn't quite look that way. Dreams of those ribs being perfect when they come out yesterday afternoon didn't happen that way. Your mother or mother-in-law comes to visit and they find dust on your countertop. You know what I mean. But in the big, grand scheme of things, Martha, 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 stop worrying so much. Enjoy the moment. But there's dirty dishes in the sink. They've got to be done. No, come on. Let's play a game of cards. The sink will be there in another hour or two. We'll all do the dishes in an hour or two. Let them just sit there for a little bit. And you just cringe because they're sitting there in the sink. And you know that they're just gathering more and more suds. They got to be cleaned right now. No, they don't. No, they don't. Wrap your arms, wrap your hearts, wrap your spirits around your family, around your friends, around the Spirit